Welcome back to the next section of Traefik Training. In this section, it's the Observability Logs Lab. So we're going to learn how to enable logs for Traefik and then change the log levels in this lab. So to start the lab, we need to head over to our GitHub repo. Again, it's 56k cloud/Traefik-training. Head down to section number 6, and that's Traefik Observability. And here is the lab we're going to work on. So enable debug logs for Traefik. And essentially, we're going to go into the 06 observability folder. We're going to take a look at the Traefik YAML file. We're going to edit the logging section, and we're going to change it from info to debug. And we're going to start the stack with debug turned on. We're going to look at the logs. We're then going to stop the stack, and we're going to adjust it back to info. So let's get started. Let's head over to our command prompt. And here's our command prompt. And I'm already in the 06 observability directory. And let's take a look at our Traefik YAML file before we get started. So here's our Traefik YAML file that we've used for other labs. And if we go down to Traefik logging, you can see there's our Traefik logging. And by default, the Traefik logging is set to error. So if this is not set, it's automatically set to error. But for this lab, we're actually going to switch it to debug. So go ahead and change this value to debug, save that. And now we're going to deploy this stack. Docker stack deploy -c docker compose and so log YAML, and go ahead and hit enter. Let me make that a bit smaller so it doesn't wrap. There you go. So you can see Docker stack deploy -c docker compose log YAML Traefik. So we start that. It is now starting. And while that's starting, just remember, if you have a Traefik running, make sure you stop it, you remove it, and then redeploy it with these settings. All right, so we are now up and running with the service. So now we can actually look at the logs. So Docker service logs, Traefik. And there you go. It is really detailed logs, as you see. I mean, we have nothing really running, no activity, but it produces quite a bit of logs. And if we can keep scrolling up, you can see it. Here's all the configuration from the providers. Here's all the middlewares, exactly what services are connecting. So it provides a ton of details. This is super helpful in troubleshooting. However, the downside is if you leave this running or forget that it's running, it'll fill up your disk space before you know it. So once we're done with the logging here, let's head back and we're going to edit the Traefik YAML once again. And we're going to tell it, okay, we're all done. We're going to change it back to info. Because info, I think, is a nice level between error and debug, and it provides enough information, but not too much where it fills up our logs. So let's go ahead and change it to log level info. Let's stop the stack, Docker stack rm Traefik. And the reason we have to stop it is because, again, it's a static configuration, and this is only read during startup of Traefik. So let's wait a second for it to stop, and then we can actually deploy it again. So Docker stack deploy, Docker compose log Traefik. It is now starting. And let's go back in and look at our logs again. And there you go. So all of our logs fits in the same screen. So not even overflowing as previous. So that's observability logs. So that's really Traefik logs. So everything about Traefik itself. Errors happening, the services connecting, SSL, TLS connections, middlewares. These are the information we'll get from observability logs. So join me in the next section as we enable access logs to see actually how the services register their requests into logs as well. Join me in the next section.